Artificial intelligence, AI. Keir Starmer says it will improve public services, put money in your pocket and create jobs. Politicians are betting the house on it. But exactly who is spending what on whom? Well, we've got consultancy Tussle to exclusively analyse the data. Here is the overall spend by government departments, £3.35 billion on AI contracts, infrastructure and services over the last 7 years. And it's ramping up fast. I want you to look at this. This is the number of new contracts signed every year. And here, 2025, well, it's the highest so far. And actually, this number's only for the first 3 quarters of the year. So who are the beneficiaries and what are they doing? Well, this is all of the government contracts by size, by company. Look, you can see over here, the recently privatised laboratory of the government chemist, or over there's Amazon PA Consulting, which often does intelligence services, Deloitte, lots that you'd recognise. But the biggest contract of all is a 2021 contract by the Met Office with Microsoft to build the world's most powerful weather and climate forecasting supercomputer. They've also got a few smaller contracts for departments to use Copilot AI. Then there's another big contract with Init, a German public transport company, and that's just with one bit of the transport network, Transport for London, worth over £250 million. But this you might find surprising. Look at this tiny dot here. That is Alphabet, the company behind Google, and a massive AI investor. But they've got just 2 contracts, one with the Ministry of Justice and the other with gov.uk. That doesn't feel like a revolution, does it? Meanwhile, the US firm Palantir has lots of smaller value contracts worth $376 million. Now, their UK boss sat down to tell us what they're doing.
So in health, it's helping junior doctors draft discharge summaries. In defence, it's helping intelligence officers collate lots and lots of information and process that more quickly.
Some people will worry about big American companies coming in and using their data. What do you say to them?
Those are very legitimate concerns, and they're right to interrogate this. But Palantir is actually the answer to those problems. We are the way you keep data secure, and we are the way you make AI transparent and auditable.
Everyone from the Prime Minister down says they get it, they get AI. Is that your experience behind the scenes?
Yes, they get it. What they're saying publicly is what they're saying privately. But the challenge is always a fear of change. And in this case, you've got to embrace change. And ministers need to be brave. They need to take on the system and tell them this is the way things need to work today.
And what's the problem in the system?
It's a resistance to change. There is a lot of fear that tomorrow I'm going to have to do a different thing to what I was doing yesterday.
Here's where it gets really interesting. I want you to look at spending by government department. Here it comes. And you can see the Department for Science and Technology, they're at the top. They've got that Met Office contract. Department for Transport, they're second. We told you about the TfL contract. But did you know which are the biggest data departments? Well, they're all the ones all the way at the bottom. Here, the Treasury, which runs the Taxman, HMRC, and the Department for Work and Pensions, which runs the benefit system. Did you know that DWP IT alone costs over £1 billion a year? Yet it spent just £73 million since 2018 on AI. Now, it's those kinds of areas that some of these people think the biggest gains can be found in. These are all the bosses of the biggest tech companies schmoozing at the US-UK state banquet in September. Tim Cook from Apple, the bosses of NVIDIA and OpenAI. You've also got the head of Google and the global head of Palantir meeting the Chancellor and the Defence Secretary. And these up here are the promises that help them get a seat at the table. Not official contracts. Actually, many of them are free trials and proofs of concept. But one person involved told me that the British government could have demanded so much more than this ahead of appearing at an event like a state banquet. They blame short-term mindset, a lack of expertise, backwards technology. Up to 60% of some bits of government are running on legacy or older versions of IT. The areas of government where a revolution could save us the most money as yet unexplored. The AI journey has barely begun.